Okay. All right. Take 3.
Action.
Action. All right. So, welcome to All Things Conversational. I'm Steve.
I'm Greg.
We don't know what we're going to talk about today, but we're going to talk about something.
Well, we've got an idea.
We've got a rough idea. We usually have a rough idea.
Yeah.
It's not always the idea that, we start with either. Found we meander a little bit.
Yeah, but that's part of a conversation.
Yeah, see, it's all
a conversation, not an interview.
Very true. Very true. So, okay, let's just revisit the week that was. Last time we were in here, it was a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we had set some goals for each other, for ourselves, rather. Did you get yours done?
Yeah, like it's an ongoing thing.
Ongoing battle.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, because we didn't
write them down.
And I didn't double check, but I believe the goal was to keep implementing that kind of way that Sue and I are running things.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I think things are going actually pretty well with that. I think she's able to focus on what she needs to on a transaction.
Well, she's just proven to us that technology still is her nemesis upstairs. That's for sure. Listen, you guys.
That might just be not her fault.
In the rare instance, and I should not be throwing stones about technology after our mute from the last session. So,
well, let's. What happened?
So we recorded a 40-minute session, and the entire session was muted on my side. And why? Because I tried to do something new and didn't really implement it properly, and I didn't have my little host thing on the right-hand side, so I couldn't see whether or not I was talking and coming through.
I think we've probably thrown away 4
hours, probably, of
I was going to say
quality material.
4 sessions.
Yeah.
4 sessions worth, probably maybe 3, but close to 4 hours worth of
stuff.
Yeah. But
live and learn, pal.
Yeah,
we're not professionals.
No, we're far from it.
We have proven that time and time again.
Loosely amateurs.
Yes, loosely, very loosely.
And again, this is not work because we do enjoy this, and I don't get too frustrated when.
Oh, I'm frustrated.
Yeah, but it's short-lived.
Because I'm the one. Oh yeah, but I'm also the one that made the mistake.
I think that also, yeah. If it was me, it would probably be a different reaction and everything.
Yeah.
But I can sit up on my pedestal here because my mic was green.
It's still green. We're good. Here, some friend you are. Jeez.
I know. So Here's what I think we should talk about this week.
Okay.
Goal of this is to talk about building a business, the ups and the downs.
Yeah, we've hit the downs.
We've definitely hit the downs. I was going to hit another down.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like we're going to have to strategically roll these out now that we're talking about this because people are just going to hear the downs of running a business.
There's not just downs. I mean, listen, we're talking downs. It's the frustration of what we've been trying to learn how to do on the fly, which, when you look at the podcast, it's business, right? Like this whole process is walking into something that I had no idea how to do this.
Yeah, you dove headfirst into this.
Learn on the fly. We've kind of just come up with this, we're going to figure it out as we go mentality. And it's sometimes working, sometimes not. We did post our first video that looked good.
Looks great.
Yeah, gonna have to take it down and tweak a little bit. Yeah, we got the editing.
A lot of that editing, all the editing. I'm really impressed by it. I really am.
Well, we still got to, and I realized after the fact we posted that we got to take it down though so we can get that video in the background change.
Yeah, but that was
on the intro, but nothing major. Right?
Nothing major. I agree.
It sounded good. It looked good.
Mics were working.
Yeah, this is going to be a dig all day long now.
All day long. Yeah. One thing I think we have to figure out is eventually how to get this sucker in the frame.
Yeah, just as I was looking at that just now, I realized that neither one of us have it in our frame, which is fine for today because I might be able to overlay one or figure something out in post-production.
You're the producer now.
Well, no, or we can actually add a third camera in. Now we're thinking, but again, that's going to be some kind of tweaking as we go along.
Yeah, or we move to one.
Or move to one. We could go back to that. I don't know how that's going to work with the audio and video, but we're not experts at this.
No, far from it. So here's the topic, though.
Okay, topic.
Sacrifices that no one talks about when you're starting your business. So this can be relationships that you maybe put on the back burner, like, hey, I don't see my buddies enough.
Yeah.
Hobbies that you were like, I used to love building ships in a bottle, maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a
Uh,
weird one that you pull out right away.
maybe that's what you do.
I do not.
Or whatever other comforts or things that you think are important that took a back seat to building your business maybe when you were starting, and maybe what's taken a back seat. Has it been the same thing?
Oh no, 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 no. Okay, so let's start with when I first became a realtor
Okay.
because I was working two jobs.
Okay.
I was working full time as a realtor and I was working full time in a casino. I was also a full time dad
Mhm.
because Sue had gone back to work early. My wife did not enjoy maternity leave. She, I think, honestly, at the end of the day, missed the money
Fair.
because she made a
Yeah.
lot of money as a slot attendant. So she wanted to get back to work so that we could provide for the kids and do certain things that just necessarily we couldn't do
On
with
one
her
income
being
would have
on
been
one
strapped.
income. We would have been strapped. So she went back to work. So I took maternity leave from the casino. That was when I did a lot of my, education and stuff to get into real estate. But the kids were really, really young when we started the me doing real estate. So I started real estate in 2008. Claudia was born in 2004. Jordan was born in 2006. So I had two kids, and then Aiden showed up. As the surprise. So we had three kids under the age of 5 at one point, and I was brand new in the business. And I can tell you that the one thing that to this day still sticks out in my head from people saying to me was stop answering the phone during dinner.
Hmm.
I was so worried about losing business or missing an opportunity, but I never put my phone down.
Mhm.
And I would have it at the dinner table. And now there's a rule in my house you can't have the phone at the dinner table because of me. And I missed a lot of that conversation. I missed a lot of that time with the
Just
kids,
being present.
just being
Yep.
present because I was so worried about how I was going to get business.
Well, it's early on. You don't want to miss any opportunity that comes across your plate, right? So you want to jump on it and you want to jump on it promptly, and that's kind of
Yep.
what you're told to do.
You're trained to do.
Trained to do, yeah.
It's ingrained and you never miss that call. And it's funny because now I teach people, like with a text message, you got about 90 seconds to respond before they've tuned you out. You got about 5 minutes for a phone call return, right? Like, so you've got all these challenges, but you also have to find that balance.
Mhm.
And, this will go into another conversation another day, but the biggest sacrifice I made was I missed a bit of stuff with my kids at the beginning.
Mhm.
Now, that being said,
I would say you completely flipped that now,
oh yeah, I flipped it now. But even back then, as soon as my kids went to school, I had the luxury of never missing anything. Right? I didn't have
which
to
is the
be at
big
work.
upside to running your own business.
100%. I had the
Yep.
flexibility to be able to say, hey, no, I'm
Recital,
not taking a phone
pageant.
call, Christmas, whatever it
Yeah.
was. I didn't do a ton of school trips because it wasn't my thing,
Mhm.
but so Sue did a lot of the school trips, but I didn't miss anything at the school. If they were playing sports, I was there, whatever the case may be.
Which is huge.
It was huge. So where I did sacrifice in the beginning with the kids, I made up for it. To the point where I could, don't let DSBN hear this, but I could wander the school without ever because I was there so much. I actually, when the kids were in kindergarten, both Claudia and Jordan, I had the privilege of being in the classroom once a week on Friday mornings. I
Really?
would go and spend the morning in the classroom, and whether it was reading or doing
Mhm.
whatever, I helped the teacher for that
But
morning.
even now, like, you guys are very involved. Like,
Oh, very much so. But our kids are also at that age now where they've gone from being our kids to being our pals, right? Like we sit
yeah,
around, like
it's almost turning into like 5 roommates.
yeah, like and I'm not joking. Like
Yeah.
Claudia was downstairs the other night, and I said, "Hey, Claudia, want to make old fashions?" And she came upstairs, and we sat and had old fashions together.
Yeah.
My 21-year-old daughter loves old fashions, and now Sue loves them. So it's become the thing. Like the three of us will sit around and have an old fashioned in the night. So sacrifice aside, it helped build that relationship in different ways that not everybody gets the luxury of because of their jobs. So a sacrifice, yes, but it worked out in the end. That changed
Mhm.
when I bought the brokerage because my kids were older, they didn't need me, and I sacrificed time with my wife.
Okay.
And where we do get a lot of time together,
Mhm.
and we spent Sue and I are so close, which sometimes is good
Mhm.
for business and sometimes is not great for business because we're in it together.
Yep.
Um, we sacrificed a lot of time and a lot of things. Like a lot of our travel was around work. So, going to conferences and stuff. So we never really got that, alone time. Last 24 months, we've said enough of that.
Mhm.
Like we're going away this weekend. We're going early so that we can have some alone time.
Just
And our
hang
kids are,
out.
and just hang
Yeah.
out, right? Like we're going out for dinner tomorrow night or Sunday night, we're staying an extra night, so just to have that time.
You're also less rushed. Like you're slowing it down a little bit.
100%. But I
Yeah.
also did a few things when I bought the brokerage that kind of allowed me to do some stuff. And one of the biggest things I did was I made the whole business remote. So I can now operationally pretty much do anything from anywhere in the world.
I like that.
The one challenge I have is payroll. And that's because of the way the systems are set up with authentication and
You
two-factor
have to be in the country.
2FA. I don't know. And I won't know until I get to Greece.
Oh.
So we have backups in place. But I really don't want to go to Greece and be doing payroll and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? So we have a system in place where we can handle it,
backup
manage
plan.
it, a backup plan, but I can still try. So, but technology has made my life, that much easier. Those are the two big ones for me. But
So you're
we've
not
gotten much
sacrificing
better.
too much now. You're starting to find a pretty good balance.
Yeah. The first real
20
test for
years
me with
later.
that, 20, and that's it, right? Like it's taken a long
Uh-huh.
time, but like ask any of my team, where am I going to be starting May 1st? I'm going to be sitting on a picnic table outside my trailer doing my work. I have that luxury. The last 2 years, I've spent a lot of time
Yeah.
at the trailer. And not because I want to be away from my house, but because I have the ability now to do
Yep.
whatever I need to.
With a Wi-Fi signal.
I have full internet at my
Yeah.
trailer now, right? So
Shout out
that was
Starlink.
no, not Starlink there. Shout out Bell. I'm
Okay.
still on Bell there, because we don't use it enough,
Gotcha.
right? So it's not, like there's not enough. It's the plan's not big enough, and Starlink ain't cheap. $170 a month. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Oh, jeez.
So, but still the best internet that I've ever had where we live. Not even close. So that also has helped. So you're in a different place,
Oh, yeah.
right? So you're sacrificing differently.
Yeah, I think very similar sacrifices. You kind of, well, I have tried to be very intentional not to sacrifice too much family time.
Yep.
And even when I catch myself maybe drifting and like it's very easy to get lost in your own business.
Yes.
You can always an idea hits you, a thought, and you're like, I should do that, add that, change that, fix that. You could work 20 hours a day if you wanted to,
Totally.
right?
Yep.
Because it's something you're building, something you're making better. So there are moments where I go, oh, shoot, drifted. But I course correct pretty quickly. I would say one of the biggest ones that I have dropped the ball on is just like staying active, working out,
Like me.
and health. I've made a bigger focus on it this year of trying to get more in a regular routine. And part of that came with maintaining a more regular routine, like with work.
Right.
But I would say, yeah, the family one is a very easy one to sacrifice.
Is it sacrifice? So the sacrifice word, I agree. But for me, I think you take
Or like
advantage.
shift your focus from.
Well, you take advantage of the fact that they're always there, and they'll, you kind of get this mindset of there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a difference between us age wise. I don't look at tomorrow's guaranteed. At 30 something years old, I was like, hell, nothing's
Sure.
going to go, like
Yep.
at 52, I'm all of a sudden like, oh,
Oh,
getting out of bed sucks.
right.
Right. Like, and you start to realize that, it's not about your mortality. It's, cause I don't want people thinking I'm, all getting into all that stuff. But for me, it's about, there's a practicality to things that I can do now. I can't go out and throw the balls with the kids, and I can, but it's not the same, right? So as you get older, you start to realize that time is much more valuable. Whereas at 30, if you'd asked me with Claudia, I've got years and years and years. Well, that time
They
goes
go
like
in
this,
blink.
and you have no perception, and that's why now, with my kids being the age they are, hanging out with them is cool.
Yeah.
right? And having the boyfriends and the girlfriends and
Yeah,
all the
it's
friends. Like,
Grand Central Station at your
oh,
place.
yeah, like our couch
Yeah.
seats 7 people. The other night we had 11 people sitting around the living room,
Yeah, with the
and
extra chairs.
what were we doing? We were just hanging
Yeah.
out. So I mean, and it's the easy one to take for granted. So that was the big my big one.
Actually, I would say I sacrificed hobbies.
That was the other one.
Yeah.
100%.
Hobby.
So when I worked at the casino, I was a golfer. I golfed every day. Oh yeah,
What?
oh, we would get off midnights because we worked midnights, and there was three of us, and
You'd
we had
expect me to be a lot better at this point.
oh no, I suck. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's because when Claude, so I really golfed a lot when Claudia was first born. So I
Did you
would
ever
get off
take me to the
midnights.
course with you just for like
Uh,
somebody bring that up the other day? He was like, I could bring I think he's like a 3-year-old,
yeah,
4-year-old. He's like, oh yeah, we can go play 9. Like I'll bring so and so.
no,
And I
I
was
would
like,
never
huh,
do that because the stuff that's said on the golf course should stay on the golf
yeah,
course.
that's fair.
There's no chance. No, we work midnights. We'd get off at 8 o'clock in the morning. We would go straight to the golf course. I'd be home by noon,
Got you.
and we would have played 18, and we did it. I say every day, but we did. We were three,
Sure,
four
3-4
times,
times
but
a
three,
week.
four
Yeah.
times a week. I was golfing.
I used to
I
fish.
got. I loved fishing growing up. I'm not gonna lie; it's my favorite memory with my old man.
Yeah, so I used to. That was mine. Like I'd go fish around here, whatever, free time. Like
Yeah, sit around and take advantage of that quiet
yeah.
time, and yeah,
Now, if I have a window, I'm like, well, I've either got to get a workout in
yeah,
or sleep.
anything, sleep, yeah,
Right?
sleep. It's funny because for me, when I look back and I think, when did for golf, when did I stop? I stopped as soon as I started real estate, which you would
When
think
did you get
is
back into it?
about 3 years ago. I only
Oh,
started playing
holy man! It
seriously
took
3 years ago.
15 years
I took
off.
15 years away from the game. Yeah. So that's why I suck again. And I don't suck. I'm just not great. But I like I had to step away, and I mean, let's face it,
Well,
golf like hockey's not cheap either.
yeah,
Raising three kids, you're spending $4,000 or $5,000 a year by the time everything's done, and that was $4,000 or $5,000 a year that could be in diapers, formula, whatever the
100%.
case
Yep.
might be, right? So that was kind of sacrifice, but I don't think it would. I don't look at that kind of stuff as a
So
sacrifice.
that's the other thing I was gonna say is like sacrifice has a negative connotation to it. Like
Yeah,
people assume just because you're not doing something, like you're not fishing anymore or you're not golfing as much, you're like deprived,
yeah. I was never deprived,
right? And that's the way I feel as well.
but the other sacrifice that probably doesn't get talked about enough because everybody thinks that you start your own business and you're going to be is financial. I sunk so much money into growing my real estate business first, and then putting back into the brokerage to grow the brokerage. And some of that was mergers and acquisitions, and just purchasing the company to begin with. That cash wasn't, even in the best of times, cash wasn't flowing at the best, unlimited. And it's kind of funny because I make a joke in our circle. I say, paper rich, cash poor, right? And there's been a couple of times where, we ton of assets, but is the cash rolling in? No, because you take it and you put it back into your company. So I think sometimes the sacrifice would be I didn't drive brand new vehicles for 10 years, right? Like we didn't have those kind of things that a lot of my colleagues were driving around in caddies, and I was driving a minivan. And that reason, partially because of kids, but also because we were investing so much of our time, energy, and money back into the business that we just didn't have the spare, right? Although we had the money, it was going back in as opposed
Building your
to
business.
to building the business.
So this is the fun part. I almost feel like your business becomes a hobby.
Oh yeah.
And I always say that, like, I think it's a good thing to spend money on your hobbies. Like, I think if you have an interest in something,
Yep.
if you're into making those chips in a bottle, Steve,
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
like, get to doing it because it's something you enjoy. It brings you joy. And the one thing I've noticed is, like I said, tweaking things, building your business, changing things. Like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And you, again, for better or worse, get to take it in the direction that you want to.
Yeah.
At whatever pace.
Pace is true. I would never have thought about pace until you said that, because there's times where I work 60, 70 hours a week and it doesn't feel like it. And yet there's times where I work 30 hours a week and I'm like, oh, I just want this week
Yeah,
over.
you're railroaded, just ruined.
Yeah, well, it can be anything, right? Something can come up, or like you're going away, and you got to go on a trip, or you got to go and do this or go do that, and you're like just dreading it, and so it can derail your whole week because what you've got to do 4 or 5 days out is kind of like, I don't want to do this,
I get that.
right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's like you got this thing, and you're like, ah, man, it'd be great if somebody else would punch
step
in
up,
for me.
yeah, but you don't have that luxury as a business owner.
No.
Right, like, and I mean, we've talked about assistants on some of the sessions that didn't make it,
Huh.
but like having an assistant's great, but at the same time, like it takes away from your hands-on approach
Yeah.
to your own business, right? So I love, and I do a lot of my work, like all this editing that we did on that video. It was done in front of the Leafs
Yeah,
games,
yeah,
right? So I've got my laptop on my phone. I'm not really doing it, like I'm not
yeah.
dedicated and so
Focused. I
focused on
agreed.
it. It's going on in the
Yep.
background, and I'm enjoying both, right? Like I'm enjoying my family sitting around, I'm enjoying watching the game, but I'm also doing this and having fun with it
No different than
because
being on your phone, like scrolling or whatever.
exactly. And it's funny because last night when I was doing the finishing touches on that first edit, I must have played that clip 30 times. And everybody in the room was like, I could see them. They're like, "Oh, hey, please stop." But they were all part of it.
Yeah.
So they were giving feedback and telling me and
I'm
all
like, what
this
is
kind of
this?
stuff.
It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of it did.
Yeah.
But once we got to the final product, it was funny because Jordan had gone out somewhere and she came back and I said, "Hey, I got a finished product. You want to see it?" And she was over the moon. She was giddy like you were when she saw it. And I'd looked at it 30 times. So I was like, this is great. Like,
You're done with it.
move. I was done with it. So, but, like those where you sacrifice that stuff, you bring it back in and bring in the people and and enjoy it with them at the same time. Because now my kids don't look at it as a sacrifice. They'll make fun of me, but it's different. But my kids have also grown up in the business, and you're going to get that luxury
Yeah.
because your kids will see you and your business grow as they get older.
The other thing that I like looking at what I had written here about the relationships, hobbies, and whatever comforts that took a back seat. I was like, did I put any like relationships on the back burner, like with my buddies? I've had the same group of friends since I was in grade 5. Same group. Yeah.
So, did you feel like you did
Well, and
that?
that's what I
Did
was
you
just
push
thinking
it
about. I
aside?
was like, did I? Or was everybody coming into their careers slash getting married slash having kids and kind of
Yeah.
getting their footing into the next phase of life? And I think it fell into that.
So for me, I'd say I lost some friends along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
For whatever reason, some of it, I'm sure there was animosity. I'm sure some of it was, you know, and jealousy is not the right word for it, but some people didn't understand what we were doing and what we were trying to achieve. And I lost some friends, and that's probably one of my bigger regrets in this business, because where consciously you're like, I can't not be with my family. It's easy to push the other relationships aside, and I think that probably to a T would be my fault, because I would put clients ahead of my friends.
Mhm.
I would put those relationships ahead of my friends, and not consciously where I was like, oh, I'm going to go and do this or do this or do this. It was, I have to do this,
Yeah. Well,
right? It's the have to. And not everybody on the other side is equipped to understand
yep.
that. Now, my best friend in the world, I haven't talked to him in about 6 or 8 weeks. We don't talk around election time. We just don't talk. He's a staunch conservative. I'm a bleeding heart liberal. So we kind of avoid each other, but he's moved all over North America. So 5 years ago, he packed up and he went, or maybe longer than that now. He went and worked in casinos in Florida. He's been to the West Coast. He's been to the East Coast. He's been into Ohio. He's run gaming all across the province. And him and I can pick up after not talking for 6 months and be like, hey, jerk, where have you been? Whereas my friends that, lived around the corner and I could see every day, they were the relationships that kind of got pushed aside. And I,
I
I
wonder if
have
it's because of that. Like your buddy who's away, you when he messages you or you make the time,
100%.
right?
That could be part of it. Yep. But also, I think that, what, I firmly believe that people are meant to be in your life at a certain
Yeah,
time,
I also agree with that.
right? Like, you and I are here to right
Mhm.
now for a reason. Whatever that is, I don't know, and I honestly don't even try to understand that kind of stuff. But things happen for a reason.
Yeah, you're where you're supposed to be when you're there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with
yeah.
you on that one.
And it's not, like it's not do I miss those people? Sure, I miss some of them. But if you ask me how many people I talked to from high school, I got about 4 or 5 people that I still stay in contact with. Facebook is helpful to stay in touch with,
Yeah.
but not necessarily be there with. And I moved away. So I grew up in a small town, right? So I grew up in Grimsby, which is,
That's
at the
not that
time,
okay, at the time,
okay,
okay,
but
like
so you got to remember, I was there 35 years ago. It
fair.
was less than 20,000 people. It's not that town anymore. And it's a completely different
Yeah, it's a
town
nice
now.
town.
And a lot of people that I know stayed.
Fair.
And I moved away to Fort Erie. And, it's funny because you would have thought that I had moved across the country,
Yeah.
right? And we
I
really did.
mean,
Hey, don't make fun of Fort
I'm
Erie.
just
I know you're
saying, like,
going there. Don't,
it is a
don't.
different world in South Niagara.
Yeah, we are South Niagara, but it is a completely different world. I will say it's much more relaxed
Yeah,
on
that's
the
a good way
southern
to say
tier.
it.
It really is. It's not the hustle bustle where everything is in the north.
Yeah.
And we joke, but that's 100,000 people versus 40,000
And
people.
it's
They're not that
only
big
getting
difference. Bigger and
yeah.
bigger and bigger. So so I do those things. Over the years, I look back sometimes and I don't like the word regret. I'm disappointed that, yeah, I've learned the lessons. But it's not always, like you find your tribe,
Yeah.
right? You find your tribe at your point in life, right? So perfect example. And I know I'm talking a lot today because I screwed up, so I'm making up for it here. Um, my buddy Jim Burke, we went to high school together. You know Jim.
I know
You've
Jim,
met
yep.
Jim. Yep. He lives in your
Yep.
neighborhood. Small world family. We'll get into that
Oh
another
yeah.
time. But Jim and I went to high school together. We're a year apart. He knew my brother. Actually, we're 2 years
He's from
apart.
Grimsby as
School
well?
was. Him and I went to high school together. So when I left high school, Jim and I didn't
Yeah,
speak.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we just hadn't talked in literally
Mhm.
decades. We go to the gala, one of the first gala at Johnny Rocco's or the Stone Mill. And he's standing at the bar with Melissa's husband, Rick, and we're chatting, and he's just Chantel's husband to me. Like, I don't know at this point.
You never
And
met
he
him?
says, "Hey, no." Well, I'd met him. I hadn't seen him since high school.
Okay, but you hadn't met him as Chantel's husband.
No.
Okay.
So this is the first time. So we're standing at the bar, and I'll never forget. He goes, "I got to ask you something." I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Did you go to Grimsby High?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you grow up in Grimsby?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're never going to believe this. How does this name and this name and this name and this name all still friends of ours, like all still people that we're in contact with, but we had never put it together." And then since that day, my golf
Mhm.
partner, I've got 3 guys. There's the 4 of us that pretty much,
Like weekly.
uh, play on a regular basis. We socialize. We're close. You know, Jim sells me my cars. Like it is this connection that him and I had as we got older. And now, probably if I'd stayed in contact with him, it may have been different. But the fact that we are where we are, again, back to being where we're meant to be at the time,
Bizarre.
yeah, it is. Yeah, and now he's one of my best friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's not how you reacted to him today.
No.
You brought up an interesting thing, which was not answering during dinner time. So that was one thing that I was very guilty of until this year. And I would sacrifice that. Like if I was in the middle of playing with somebody and I got a phone call, like playing with my kids,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I got to take this.
Yep.
And there was a client scenario in like January, February where I could tell this was going to be a tricky situation. And I said, I'm not jumping when you say.
Yep.
And I had given them a few things to do. I'm leaving out a lot of details. I'm trying to give you the picture of it, but essentially there was a timeline. They were talking to somebody else, came to me, went back to the other person. I didn't hear from them. Came back to me the last second, and I said, "Okay, but you got to do this, this, then this before I give you my attention." And I remember it was like 5 o'clock, And like that's the middle of like dinner time and kid time. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start looking at their file. Because I had a bunch of documents, but I didn't have a few others that I needed. And I went, no, I'm not doing this. I went, pause. And I was like, I'll get to it when they send me their stuff.
Right.
They never sent me their stuff. And I went, okay. Like it's like it clicked.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't have to jump at every single little thing that comes.
The power of no
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur
Yeah, that's a
is
good way to put it.
huge.
Well, we talked about this 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mentioned reverse mortgages
Yeah.
and how I was like, ooh, don't want to do them.
Yep.
I've started to do that in my business where I go, these types of things are not something that I want to put effort or like get good at. Because you do have to get good at each of these different things. You've got to have a
Sure.
decent understanding.
Yep.
The power of no, it's a good way to put it.
And honestly, I think that comes not only with experience, but with a little bit of maturity.
Well, because it can really look like a sacrifice at the
Yeah.
front end. You go, whoa, you're willing to sacrifice this type of business or this amount of business or this much more coming to you. But
It's funny because I have this I work with a builder.
yeah.
Okay. And we're literally working on a high end rental project that's going to be all nicely done townhouses, et cetera, et cetera. And they were trying to sell them at one point. We couldn't sell them. The market just at the time, the price, everything, it just wasn't working. And they wanted us to step up and wanted me to step up and do certain things. And I just said no. I said, I'm not at the point in my life where I need to go and sit in a building alone and hope that somebody shows up and hope that this is going to, and hope and hope and hope. I would rather be doing what I call, business generating tasks. And they couldn't understand that. They couldn't understand why I wouldn't want to go and sit in that house and sit in front of a computer all day and watch TV or do whatever the case may be on the chance to get one deal out of it. And my logic was always, but what am I giving up to get that possible of that one
Yeah, like
deal?
what's the opportunity cost here?
Right. Like, and so for me to look, when I look back on it now, is there's so much better ways to use our time more efficiently that I think has happened over the last, decade that we could never have done before. I mean, in my career, and it's funny, when I first got into real estate, we still delivered MLS book. We still would get a book once a month with all the listings so that we could go give it to clients.
No way.
Could you imagine? Right. So one of the first things we
Like a
did when I got
newspaper. Who gets those anymore?
right, like, so the speed at which we can do things changed a lot of time stuff, right? So I think that was a big thing for me is, realizing efficiencies took away from me having to sacrifice a ton of stuff, right? And then as you get better at things, it becomes easier, right? So I'm almost 20 years in, you're a few years in. 5 years from now, 7 years from now, you're going to be like, oh man, did I ever do things slowly back then?
Yeah.
Right. Like a perfect example for us as a realtor. I used to write an offer and it would take me an hour because I was always second guessing myself. Did I do it right? Did I do this? It literally takes me 8 minutes, 9 minutes to write a good offer now.
I remember the very first mortgage that I put together. It's for my own.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And at the time, the brokerage I was at, they had somebody to review your file before submission.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I've only ever had one mortgage right now. I want to see what it's like being on this side of the transaction. I was like, let's do my own. So I did that. And I remember I was putting the application together. Okay. Looking at all the numbers. And it was like a Zoom room you had to go into, like an underwriting room. And the guy was like, he like reviewed everything. I was like, okay, you're good to go. Like, give me one of those. And I was like, okay. Like, he's like, just get this and this fixed or whatever he said. And then 2, 3 days went by and I came back in and I was okay. So like I got what you needed. I like did this, did that. Like, do you think this is gonna, do you think? And he goes, what are you doing? He goes, why haven't you submitted this yet? He's like, you're good to go. You're overthinking this.
Oh, okay.
I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, this should have been in like days ago. He goes, hun, you're good to go. And I was like, oh, I thought I needed to have everything
Yeah.
in place. He was like, no, 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 no. You've got it. Send it in. Whereas now, like, we get a good chunk of stuff in and we go,
Yeah.
okay, we've got meat on these bones. Send it in.
Yeah.
And even since working with Sue, the pace at which I'm getting stuff in has increased because you go, well, I know I can get this, 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 and this, or we'll condition for this, 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 and this. Like, boom, done. So I've already seen it in a few years. The speed has.
Imagine how AI is going to affect that.
Yeah, I.
Like AI. So we're a perfect example of about how AI can increase certain tasks or speed certain tasks up.
Yeah.
Think about our list. Think about the list that we created, the
Yeah.
content list,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like if we had sat down and said, let's brainstorm ideas, it would have been an afternoon,
Definitely.
right? It was 30 seconds
Yep.
of work,
Tweak this,
right?
do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, efficiency breeds, takes away from, you having to spend that time, which takes away from you having to sacrifice because we can do things so much faster now.
Here's a question. Oh, I tipped this thing.
Oh, look at you.
Do you think?
Uh-oh.
Because you brought up an interesting point here.
Okay.
With this AI stuff. So, do you think, call it 5 years, 10 years from now, somebody who's jumping into starting their own business, okay, whether this is being a plumber, an electrician, a realtor, whatever it is, do you think they're going to have to sacrifice in the same way that somebody like yourself or myself has sacrificed? I use the word sacrifice, but shift
Yeah.
attention, shift focus.
Yeah.
Or do you think that a lot of these automations and a lot of these AI systems are going to just fix that?
No, I do not. Listen, I still firmly believe that we're a relationship business.
Great.
Okay. I don't care what your business is, short of selling stocks, which, that kind of, where everything it's cut and dry,
Black and
or it's
white.
black and white, cut and dry, kind of mentality, I think is anything else beyond that is about a relationship. And even then I would argue that, as you move up through a company, there's relationships to it. But I just don't think, I think things will get shifted. So I think as efficiencies are created elsewhere, then the relationship aspect of what your business is will be enhanced. So you'll just do different things because I as much as, technology is helping us for the most part up until, before, let's take chat GPT out of it, that kind of AI, you could basically source out anything. So the difference is now where I can get it done in-house through whatever AI platform. I would have just gone outside and sourced it out in a different manner, which would have been taking a little bit more time. But realistically, 10 years from now, you're going to be able to say, I'm starting a plumbing business, create a software for me to run my business. And it will take all sorts of softwares and it'll create your accounting, your marketing, all of that stuff. Whereas now I just source it out. Right. I just don't know whether or not that kind of, challenge will change. I just think it's going to be a shifting of what people do.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think in those industries that rely on belly to belly relationships, you can't replace that. Obviously, the industries that rely on a trade, like you can't replace that with AI.
No, you can't replace the hands part of it
No,
either.
but I almost feel like you'll be able to hire an AI assistant.
100%.
That's what I could see being.
Or you'll build your own AI assistant.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
Right. Like you'll get to
Tailored
the
to
point
whatever
where tailored to what you're
your
doing.
line of work, whatever
right?
you need.
Yeah. You'll have at some point it's going to get to the point where we have our own AIs for our own lives. Right.
So
You will
potentially
load up.
less sacrifice of somebody having to work less funky hours, less this, that, the other.
Well, think about, okay, so in our business, I get emails all 24 hours a
Mhm.
day. Imagine a really good chat bot, because chatbots are just really
Yeah.
getting better, but a chatbot that gets that client from that whole process,
Yeah.
and you tell them up front, I'm going to walk you through the application process, and they're going to ask you the questions. You're going to filter the questions. You're going to, then in that AI is going to put it into the
Front end.
application for you, the front end aspect of it, and then you're not thinking about it. And then you're actually just going in and verifying
Mhm.
versus, you know, inputting, and it's giving you three solutions and those kind of things. But that just means that we can either take on more
Mhm.
business or be more selective with the business that we take on, or say, you know what, I'm doing enough business now. I'm just doing it easier,
Right.
right?
More
And now I don't
efficiently.
have to more efficiently. Efficiently, I think AI is going to create, and 10 years from now, the efficiencies of what we do will be greatly
Yeah. I
enhanced.
think of it protecting me. I go, are you going to be better at spotting fraud in documents?
Or are you going to be battling people that can create fraud with documents?
Yeah. I think whenever you have one, you have the other. If
Yeah,
you,
you always have the good with the
yeah,
bad, right?
that's actually a good point.
So we rush to use all this stuff and don't necessarily think about the negative aspects of it, right? Which really could, you know, I mean, they're good at scamming us now, right? Imagine how good they're going to get when they've got use of technology. All you got to do is go and look at any election platform that's out there, and the misinformation that's being generated through AI. Right, like it's all over the place. So you're kind of in this mindset where, yeah, it's going to make my life easier, but there's going to be aspects of it. The technology is going to make our lives harder, and I think that's one of the ways. Fraud, and we live in a world where fraud is
Oh, it's
rampant
rampant.
right
Yeah. It's
now,
only
right?
gotten tighter for us. Like you've seen it. Our stuff has only gotten more document heavy, paperwork heavy, front end, back end, middle end, whatever.
Well, think about it. FinTrack. We'll bring up the F word. Client is ID'd by the realtor. Client is ID'd by the agent. Client is ID'd by the lawyer. Three
Yeah.
times that client is providing ID to try and prevent
Mhm.
fraud. That's the only purpose for it, to stop money laundering, to stop fraud.
So oddly enough, when I was talking to another lawyer this week, she was saying at one point she had somebody impersonate her parents in a full disguise on Zoom. And they caught it and were like, you know what? We need you to come in. And then all of a sudden, alarm bells went.
Yep.
Um, but you sometimes you take for granted how often people are trying to impersonate their parent to put a mortgage in place and get some money and whatever else they're trying to do.
Yep.
Um,
Well, how about the couple in Toronto that went on a
Vacation
long term vacation and came back? Their house had been sold twice,
twice.
right? Twice. Yeah. So the fraudster moved in, so,
Hold it from them to him.
sold it from them, and then the people that bought it sold it again.
Oh,
So the initial fraud was already gone, and there was no recovery.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so there. I mean, I think that's going to be a bigger challenge for us than I think we anticipate. As much as I love,
AI.
the AI, and I love it for certain things, I think that down the road it's going to be a bigger
I
issue
think that's a
for
topic
us.
for a whole other day.
Well, I'm not, and the hard part is I'm not an expert on
No,
AI.
but
Like
it's always interesting to see how people use it in their business.
yeah. Oh yeah, you could. I mean, the ways that we could use
Right, like
AI
I've had it
is.
make a workout. I go, build me a
Oh
workout
really?
that's 30 minutes using this equipment.
Really? Oh, see, I never thought of that.
Like we've had
Okay,
it do
so
meal plans for us.
okay, sidebar. Which one do you use?
Just Chat GPT.
You just chat.
I was
So
using Gemini because it was included in like my Google Business Suite for a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit,
yeah,
but I didn't
yeah.
really.
So the new Gemini seems to have caught up. This is the hard part: is
Ah,
which one is better? Where do you get your AI? Because chat was really the
yeah.
first one that really exploded on the scene, right? And then I was messing around. Chat's terrible for image stuff,
Okay.
right? I went to Gemini and asked it to create a 12-month training program
Mhm.
for me, and I got slide decks. I got it loaded into Google. It was loaded into my Google Docs, and you know how much I hate Google
Uh-huh.
Docs, but everything was there. I had the slide, the key, like I want to say Keynote because that's Apple, but
Sure.
PowerPoint. I had a 12 slide PowerPoint presentation generated for what I had said.
Okay.
You know who else has got a really good one? Adobe.
Dopey.
Adobe has a actual great AI.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's all over the place. And I have
I've
a
seen that a lot of them
Adobe.
are built off of chat. Like I know Canva's got one.
Yep, but chat's actually not built off. It's not built off of it. It's actually incorporated right into. So when you go into Canva, it's Chat GPT built in it. But everything you can do so much with it in it, and they're building these integrations now into software to make the use of their software more appealing, easier, faster. Right? Like you can go into Chat GPT and did you know that there's a script writer in there where you can sit down and say, I want to do an interview with a real estate agent.
I get it to do stuff like that for me all the time.
Yeah, so there's actual one in there that breaks it down and shows it to you as a script.
Oh, I haven't done that.
Yeah, there's a
I'll
bunch
just
of
ask
different
the prompt. I'll
chats.
be like, write me up an email that's blah 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 blah
Yep.
blah. Or how would you say
And
this if you wanted to? Write me up a script for talking to somebody about blank.
yeah, do you pay for chat?
No,
Okay, so I've been told, and I haven't
that you can
sacrificed yet,
train one.
that it will learn
Yeah.
you.
Somebody else was telling me the exact same thing that they built one. Maybe they were talking about it in a podcast. Anyways, they built one and they trained it to be its marketing thing.
That sounds
But you have
incredible
to you have to, you
and
have to
frightening all at the same
give
time.
it inputs.
Material,
So they
yes.
had given it X amount of inputs, and now they go to it and they're like, "Can you write me up um, a social media post posted across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook on these three topics or whatever?" It outlines it and it gives you your call to action, your hook, your everything.
It's not expensive.
How much is it?
I think the paid chat is 22 US a month.
Okay.
Like it's not exorbitant, but I think that the benefits in its infancy can really, really help.
Yeah,
But you got to be careful you don't become reliant on it. You can't let, you know,
to me, it's a good jump off point always.
agreed. So I'm when I train, I tell people let technology be part of your business.
Yeah.
Don't let it be your business. And I see a lot of companies and a lot of businesses out there where, unless it's a tech company, which you
Yeah.
really want it to be, but if you're building a company and you let tech run your company, the second you lose that tech, you've lost that
Right,
ability
like
to
if it
grow the
goes down, you're
business.
stuck. Yeah.
Right? It's like a realtor who can't write a clause because it's all built into the system. If you don't know how to write a clause and the system goes down, you've got to handwrite an
Uh-oh.
offer. What are you going to do?
Hey, you're stuck.
Right? You tell your client you're going to wait? No, going to get a piece of paper out, get a blank offer, and you're going to start writing
Sheesh.
or typing. Right? But again, technology can help, but you can't let it be everything.
No, I agree.
All right, pal. If this didn't work, I'm going home. I'm going to have a drink and I'm going to cry.
I
But
think you're probably going to do
I
that
think,
regardless.
well, I don't know about the
celebration
cry.
cry.
I don't know about the cry. Yeah, maybe a happy cry. So, if all goes well, you'll see this. You'll see it out YouTube sometime next week.
Spotify?
YouTube, Spotify, hopefully Apple. If we ever figure out the Apple one, that'll be my task. So my goal for next week is to have all three of the platforms figured out, so that we can post, because I'll be in Ottawa and I'll have some time
Gotcha.
on my hands to mess around. I'll take both systems and I'll mess around with it and see. But for those of you who haven't followed yet, follow us at All Things Conversational Podcast and give us a listen so that you can subscribe. See if you enjoy our banter back and forth, and we'll see you next
Yeah,
time.
thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming out.